Hello there, and welcome to this episode of the Padawan Unlimited Podcast, YouTube edition. Today we're going to review some rare cards I think are actually really great for Set 2, Shadows of the Galaxy, but for some reason I don't see them played a lot. Because of that, these are cards you should be able to find very easily or trade for, and just like last time, I think they can have a positive impact on your game regardless of the game mode, drafting Twin Suns or constructed. Without further ado, let's move on. So the first one here is Vigilance. It's called Imprisoned. It is an upgrade card. And let's take a look at this. So it is a 2 cost for Vigilance and attached to a non-leader unit. So anything that's not a leader, which is fantastic. So because a lot of upgrades, you have to kind of do non-vehicles, for example. So this is pretty much any unit out there, regardless of like power. An attached unit loses its current abilities and can't gain abilities. So let's think about this for a second. For 2 costs, you're essentially negating the most impactful abilities in the game on a unit. And I mean, I think the most salient example of this right now is Crate Dragon. So for 2 cost, you put this on Crate Dragon. It loses its Overwhelm, and it loses its ability where if you play a card, you have to do damage to a unit or base. All for the cost of 2, right? But let's think about other examples. So if we think about even like lower cost units, so like Moisture Farmer, you're gonna lose Restore. For Gray Squadron Y-Wing with its on attack ability, where opponent has to choose a unit or base they control, deal 2 damage to it. That goes away. Something like Nemo Outpost Constables, which has Sentinel. Sentinel goes away. And then, if you're not even just considering the unit cards, but think about other upgrades. So if they have like Heroic Resolve, and you throw in an Imprisoned, it's not working anymore. So there are a lot of implications for this card that I don't know why it's not used more. It's kind of like a half removal because now the only thing you have to worry about for a unit is its attack and health, but it literally can't do anything else. And I think it's a very, very good card that should see more play. If we move on to the next one, General Riken, I actually don't know how to pronounce his name. It's a 6 cost unit. It is Command Heroism. It's a Rebel official. Good, some pretty good keywords. Only 2 though. 5/7. So not necessarily the most powerful 6 drop, but pretty good. And it has a when played on attack, which means that you get to choose a friendly unit if it has Sentinel. So let's say you had Echo Base Defender. You can give an experience to it, which is great. Otherwise, it gains Sentinel for this phase. So if you didn't have a Sentinel, let's say you just had like a Battlefield Marine from set 1, then now it has Sentinel. It's a 3/3 Sentinel, and you have General Riken on the board. And one of the things I like about this card, not only is it good for like a Leia deck or just in general as like a green card, I think that it gives you options. And so think about this. Like if you decided to put this in a deck and you have ECL, or let's say you use Timely Intervention, and Timely Intervention is an ability that essentially gives ambush to a card. Like if you have General Riken and you're at 7 resource, you use Timely Intervention, 7, throw it in. When played and on attack are nested under each other, or ambush is nested under the on attack. So when you get to do this twice, right? So think about that. You use Timely Intervention. You have some units on the board. You're trying to go wide. One of them hopefully has Sentinel. Give an experience token to it. And then the other one, you can also give Sentinel. And then General Riken's on the board with 2 Sentinels or a Sentinel and experience. There is a lot I think you can do with this card. And I don't think it's been fully explored as a unit. I actually think this is low key one of the better rares in the set 2, specifically for Command, and I'm excited to see this have more gameplay. Next, we have Give Into Your Anger, and I've seen this a couple times, but for whatever reason, people don't necessarily use this. But the reason I think this is actually going to be good, and people just have to figure it out, is that let's look at this. It's a 1 cost, so it's super cheap. Red black, which red aggression, villainy, which is okay, not necessarily a bad combination. You deal 1 damage to an enemy unit. Right. Its controller's next action this phase must be an attack action with that unit, if able, and it must attack a unit if able. So what this essentially means is that you are dictating the battle tempo or the next play for your opponent, for the opponent, which is great for this game because you have to react and you're forcing them to do something that they not necessarily want to do. And I think for something like this card is really great if you are into bounties. So like a Bosk deck, I think this would be killer in. We haven't seen too many Bosks yet, but I think anything with bounty is going to benefit from this card because if you throw them on a unit, right? Let's say you have all these 0 cost bounties, and then you're down in tempo. So like let's say they took initiative, just load up a unit with an enemy unit with some bounties, and then force them to attack you. And sorry, I'm not initiative, but like let's say they pass or they're trying to do something. This is this setup. The setup for this card and how it can impact the games is, I think, very powerful. And just has not been figured out yet. And I'm still trying to figure it out too, just to be fair. But only for one, you're already doing 1 damage on an enemy unit, and then which means that it's if it's a 6, you're throwing it out to 5, 4, and 3. You're throwing it into the range of to be killed, right? By your side, especially if you have a shield. Oh my god. Now you're just getting a free kill. So I think this should probably see more play, specifically with like a Bosk, maybe a Gar Saxon Red or something like that. But we'll see. The last 2 cards I kind of want to talk about here are Bazine Natal and Omega. For Bazine, I actually do see this card played sometimes, and I've seen this on like net decks when for example. But I think it actually should see more play because its its ability is so good. So let's take a look at it. It's a 2-cost cunning villainy, so straight in the alley of set 1 Boba. Maybe if you're throwing in a Tarkin cunning, you're gonna throw this in there. Cad Bane, right, is naturally inclined to use this, but when it's played, just throw it down. And also, when it's played, you look at an opponent's hand, right, and you could discard one of those cards. So, and it's a 1/3, so it's a little on the lower power side, but that's okay because you're not really using it to attack. You're using it for its when played. Think of how powerful that is. Like Spark of Rebellion from set 1, people would use that off aspect in order to be able to select a card from someone's deck to get rid of it, or from their hand to get rid of it. And for a 2-cost, you can do that now, right? So good. And then it's also smuggle. So if it's in your resource row, and let's say you're getting later on in the game, right, and you're playing like a hard control deck, like a blue, like a vigilance deck or something like that, and they're about to throw an Avenger down, you can smuggle it out. If your entire resource row is just Bazine Natals, and you just wait till the end of the game to start sniping cards out of their hands, the swing, the play disruption on the other side is just so good. And I feel like this should be on like every cunning deck, at least on the sideboard, right? And I think that will be the case. If we go on to Omega, which is the heroism side, this one I can understand why it doesn't see too much play because it's very centered around clones, right? And even Hunter doesn't necessarily, as a rare leader, doesn't necessarily see too much play in set 2. So I think that this card is really great in preparation for set 3. So I think Omega's fun to play for now, but really you should be stacking her. I think you should get at least a playset for her, because once set 3 comes out with the entire clone army, she's gonna be, I think, very, very invaluable. Ignore the aspect penalty on the first clone unit you play each round, right? So you can go off suit, right? I think that's really good. She's only a 2 cost, which means she's cheap. She can come out early, right? And she's 2/2. So again, not necessarily the most powerful, kind of mid to low in that sense. But again, look at that ability. And then when played, search the top 5 cards of your deck for a clone, reveal it, and draw it. So you drop her and then you get another clone right away that you can kind of replace. I think it's a good small combination that you can have with her. And that's it. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Feel free to use comments or email me at gil@padawanlimited.com. Would love to have you. And then remember, if you like what you see, please subscribe, tell your friends. Until next time, may the force be with you.